Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the last, no, it's not the last, it's the next to the last episode of the show in the month of March. This is Black Authors Matter TV and I'm your host for tonight, Gwen Richardson, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. I'm back.
Yeah, we missed you. We missed you last week. But sometimes, the tech stuff, the tech world, I think they don't really consider the end user. I think the tech people get in a room and it's all tech.
It just does what it wants to do when it wants to do it.
It does. And sometimes it can trip you up at the worst times. But anyway, we have an amazing show for tonight. A couple of housekeeping notes. If you want to sign up for the National Black Book Festival for this year, the early bird registration ends March 31st. After that, the price goes up and the terms are not as good. So we're at 62% as far as vendor space sold, and we expect to sell out in early summer. Also, if you're a children's author and you want to enter your book in the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards process, that is ongoing until June 3rd. So you have until then to submit your book. And we just have an amazing lineup tonight. So our first guest, she has a book about wine. And Rhonda is a real connoisseur of wine. I'm I'm a lightweight, so but when I do drink it, I like it white and I like it dry. So
I'm gonna say sweet. I'm about to say you are not allowed to conduct this
no,
interview.
I don't. I like dry wine. But anyway, I think her first name is pronounced Shaw, but she'll tell me if it's not. McCoy. And she is an NAACP Image Award nominee for this year. And welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And we need you to unmute your mic so we can hear you when you start talking.
Thank you. How you doing, ladies?
Fine. Wonderful. How are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And you have your book behind you, Wine Pairing for the People. And
yes, well, not my book, but oversized.
Oh, okay. Okay. Your book cover.
Book cover, yes.
Okay. And that was an unusual topic. And just reading about what the book was about, you combine communion wine with community somehow. But tell us what first of all, are you in the wine business? Are you just a wine connoisseur, just enthusiast, or both of those things, or something else?
Yeah, I guess I'll try my best to give you a brief history or background. I know we don't have much time, but thanks for having me on the show. I am a certified sommelier with the Court of the Masters of Sommeliers. I am a wine entrepreneur, meaning I own a bunch of wine and beverage related businesses and execute different projects from events, corporate events in wine tours, and also owned my own wine store in New York. I'm also a wine educator, which led to the book as well. I taught wine appreciation to MBA students as well as in our food and nutrition school at Syracuse University. So yes, I am very much in the wine industry and have been in the industry for 15 years.
What actually got you interested in wine?
I moved to Italy back in 2010. I didn't move for wine. I was there actually doing my MBA in international finance. I did realize that I had an interest, I guess, like many, when you travel to Italy, you start learning about cheese and pizza and you just become fully immersed into the culture there. And after spending close to 2 years there, for me, it definitely became almost like a part of my lifestyle when I returned back to the States. So I was here in Harlem, came home and wanted now with a new MBA and let's say a lot of graduate school debt. No one didn't understand why I was going to go work at a minimum wage job at a wine store, but it was this cultural connection that I felt very tied to in wine with Italy, and wine helped me to kind of keep it alive. Like, I'm no longer in Italy, but I still wanted to feel close to, my time living there. And that, was a hobby at first, did that on the side, on the weekends, working at the wine shop, eventually went back to corporate. And then I was like, well, when do I, leave? Like, I'd rather invest fully into wine and try to make a career out of it. And so I guess that's how it started.
I've got to say, Europe will do that to you. I spent 5 years in Belgium, and before I moved to Europe, I was that type of person who drank wine. I drank wine, but the sweeter the better. If it tasted like liquid sugar, I was drinking it. I love the sweetest wine I could find.
Got it.
Somehow, when I moved to Europe, my palate changed.
Yes.
And I went from drinking sweet wine to medium wine, and somehow I went from drinking medium to dry. Yeah. Now you can't put a sweet bottle anywhere near me. I just don't like sweet wine anymore. I know how much better how to choose wine. Just my palate matured just living in Europe for that many years.
Yeah.
So I totally understand your affinity for it and how you learned much more about wine. It's not just, oh, I like to drink wine now. It's actually become a part of you now.
Yes, exactly.
Totally. So now with your brick and mortar operation, what is it open all the time? Is it only open on weekends? And what do you do there? You have wine tastings? Do you let people have events? Just what do you do in your space?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did have to close it last year, May. And yes, but it was a fully operated in New York State. I don't know where you two ladies are based. We either can be a wine shop or a wine bar. So I would host educational tastings, but you couldn't come in and get glass. I know there's certain states that is like California, you can do this. South Carolina, you can be a store and a bar, but in New York State, you have to have either off-premise or on-premise drinking license. And so I actually was one of the few Black people, not even just Black women, in the whole New York State who actually had my own license. So something I'm proud of, even though the business is closed today, it was no small feat to be able to open it on my own. And I guess it's part of my resume, and it inspired for me to continue doing the work that I do. So, but it was a place where I did teach classes and introduce people to new wines, like a lot of the ones that you'll find in the book. So wine pairing for the people, I actually signed on with HarperCollins for that book deal in 2022. That's while the store was open. And so at the same time, over the last few years, the book was released in November 2025. It was important that we released it during a time when wine and food is the theme. Obviously, for Thanksgiving, everyone's at home buying, they want to find the perfect wine to pair with the food. And the way I educate people about wine is really tied into a different conversation. I heard you, Gwen, talk about the communion. I don't talk about communion wine, but the name of my actual business is The Communion. So the name of my store was The Communion. A lot of my events that I've done since 2016 is called The Communion. So that's just a branding name for my company, is The Communion. But okay. I do connect to that opportunity of, there's this nostalgia around, I guess, the Last Supper, like communal dining, having everyone's equal at the table and actually having wine paired with something. In this case, obviously communion with bread, but in my case, it is normally some type of cultural connection. And so therefore the book is actually divided into regions. If you've never studied wine, maybe you wouldn't know, like how Dr. Rhonda mentioned, a lot of countries wine is focused on France, Italy, Spain. And so this was an opportunity, or this is why, New York Times and I'm assuming NAACP recognized that this book was groundbreaking, because for the first time there's a book that is focused on none of those regions. It focuses and starts with Africa first, and then we'll go into the Caribbean and Latin America. So if you haven't had the opportunity to take a look at it, that's what makes the book unique, is because it's in the subtitle, you'll see focused on pairing wine, food, and culture from Africa and beyond, as it states. So that is what makes it as I guess, a new way of thinking as well.
That's a great point, because wine does not only come from Europe. There are so many other regions that have very great wine.
Yes.
You don't have to just go to France or Italy to get a great bottle of wine.
Correct.
So in Africa, what countries have wine specialties? Or
South Africa is the leading country for wine making. When we're talking about grape wine making, other styles of wines you can find palm wine in West Africa, and then there's also honey wine, which is more prominent in Ethiopia, East African traditions and cultures. So the book itself, because I'm trying to debunk the idea, what they say in wine education is that what grows together goes together. So just because you are from, I don't know, Mozambique, does that mean that your food does not deserve wine? So it was this mindset I wanted to change also, is that even if you're from a culture, Jamaica, Mozambique, Japan, anywhere in the world, you deserve to have a good wine paired with your food too. So I was given permission to people of the diaspora. Just make sure that you think about who is promoting this wine for you. So as a trained sommelier, that was very important for me to kind of release the gatekeeping, the elitism that comes with wine, that no matter where you're from in the world, that choosing a really good bottle of wine, whether it's from Italy or from Africa, is really important to be able to even consider it to be something at our tables, no matter what our cultural background is.
And it is still pretty an elitist all community, so to speak. The wine industry is, there are still facets of sommeliers who will look down on certain people for what they drink or how they drink. So I feel like a book like this just kind of opens that door for people.
Professionally, or if you're just a wine lover.
Absolutely. And what I was going to ask is, a lot of people credit the movie Uncorked for kind of opening African Americans' eyes to the wine industry. But I would say that even prior to that movie, more and more African Americans were opening, especially younger ones, were opening their eyes to drinking wine. So I think your book really came at a very good time to really help more young people to really understand wine and how it's paired with certain foods. Would you think?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I feel like I wanted people to see themselves. Again, like I said, I've been in industry since 2012. So in my mind, it's funny you said Uncorked. I was in a meeting yesterday, and someone that wasn't in the wine industry, he credited Black middle to upper class being attracted to wine because of the TV show Scandal. So I guess if people may have different things that they remember in pop culture that was trending with OC wine, obviously even rap artist Drake mentioning Moscato in his songs, right? So Moscato was actually very trendy at one point.
You really want to go back, it was Alizé, right? And Boone's Farm, if you really want to go back when they want.
That's not wine.
I know it's not, but if you really want to go back when people thought that they were really drinking something, they heard the rappers talking about Boone's and Alizé, and they thought that they were drinking. They thought they were really drinking something back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I guess to your question about like how interesting that it's these pop cultural moments that say certain things, and for like people with pop bottles and obviously champagne or drink cognac, but to say Moscato by name, which is specifically a wine, you know, most people like more interested, like, oh, if Drake said it, let me look it up, because they don't know what it was, and that's when there was an uptick in sales in Moscato. So these cultural trends, and I would say specifically Black cultural trends, definitely affected and has had an impact. So I hope that, you know, I guess in my understanding, I hope that what my book does is able to scale my education and that I do locally here in New York, or with my clients who have brought me on to their different events and festivals, etc. That now the things that I share with people who bring me on, now everybody can kind of get a piece of what I teach, you know, through the book. So.
And that's kind of where I was going with it, because books like this actually just kind of open a door to kind of level up what we're drinking, because at one time pop culture was influencing where we were going and how we were dressing and what we were drinking. And a lot of people had not heard of certain things. And I was very tongue in cheek when I mentioned Boone's and Alizé, because people had not heard of those things until the rappers said it, or pop culture said it, and all of a sudden now everybody wanted to drink it. And so just think, if we had if those rappers had leveled up what they were drinking at that time, maybe we could have leveled up what we were drinking when we were younger, and we could have been drinking better at that time. So that's all I was saying. I know it wasn't wine, but you couldn't tell a young person at that time that it wasn't wine at that time.
Boone's Farm is an old wine. I mean, well, it's not wine, but it's an old liquor that.
It's an old liquor, but think about how old we were when people were talking about it, though.
Yeah, it was cheap. It was a cheap liquor. I never tasted it, but but it was cheap, and that was the attraction. You know, if you wanted to have some liquor and you didn't have much money, then Boone's Farm was the go-to.
Got it. And I do talk about spirits in the book too, even though the title is mainly about wine, because a lot of the cultures in the Caribbean section where we have rum, the birthplace of rum, I wanted people to understand there is a historical and cultural connection to those places. So no shade to the Alizés of the world, etc. But if we actually think more historically and actually do, like, part of my work is very rooted into anthropology, and so it's not that I'm just a sommelier and I'm pouring wine and just like, oh, let me explain this Chardonnay to you, but I want you to understand the cultural and the human perspective.
That's what I love about the book, is that you're bringing the cultural aspect to everything that we're drinking, and I love the fact that you actually break it up into regions.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, you know, it's so funny when people ask me about that. That's just how I'm used to seeing wine textbooks. So I just replicated how the wine textbooks that I would buy to study for a wine exam, they are usually broken into regions. So I didn't really think of it as being something like new. I replicated what they did. They would put France, then Italy, then Spain, then Germany. So I said, okay, well then let's do Morocco, then Senegal. Then, you know, I did exactly what they did. I just made sure that the country that I wanted to focus on was in place of it. So the structure itself is a mirror image to what you would see in a traditional wine textbook.
Yeah, one of our regular viewers. Oh, Tony Benitez said, when does the book drop? It dropped in November, correct?
November 4th is it already passed. November 4th, 2025. So
I just put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to take a closer look.
Oh yes, please. Thank you.
And she also said that, I think she means you couldn't tell her that it wasn't wine when she was in college in the 60s.
And that was my point. You could not tell them that it wasn't wine when they were drinking it.
So what? So if it's not wine, what is it?
Hello. That's book number 2. But I would say, in short, for those who did pick up on what Dr. Rhonda was saying, and I think that there is a lot to say about many wine brands that you may see in the list or on in the larger liquor stores, not really the small curated ones. If I was going to leave anybody with one kind of wine education tip right now, is if it's $8 and it's really big, it's not wine. Just to be honest, wine comes from an agricultural product, which is grapes. Grapes are treated like any other, like how oranges grow or any other fruit. And so it takes a lot of money just to turn one vine into wine. So if they only charge you $8, I think you should probably question how are they making wine at such cheap price. Some people may not care, but I think that those who are more conscious, I think it was always interesting when I hear people who love barefoot, but they vegan. I'm like, but their barefoot wine is nothing but like chemicals, so it almost contradicts that you would think highly of like what you put over your body when you eat it, but when you drink it, you're not thinking the same way. So as a wine shop owner, I also had to educate people that if it's important about what you intake, you need to think the same way about how you're drinking. And there are many things that it could be. Chemically based grape flavor. Just imagine, with Kool-Aid, and this is grape drink. Basically, is what you're having is like wine drink. You're not really having wine when you're having those bottles. They are mass produced in order to be able to hit the shelves and sell it to you for very cheap. So I think there is something about looking for quality wines, and the best place to go is to a smaller wine shop, not so much the large warehouses. Usually it's more curated selection. And so with limited shelf space, the wine store owner or wine buyer for the shop is usually picking the best 10 Pinot Noirs, not Pinot Noirs. You shouldn't have an aisle of Pinot Noirs to have to choose from. They are choosing because the idea, they're going wide, right? Those big wine warehouses and all those things. So they just want to have everything at every price point from $5 to maybe $500, where the more curated wine shops in your areas, I don't know where people are tuning in from, you can actually, they're picking the best of Pinot Noir or the best, wines from California when they have the very limited shelf space. So I think that's always like a cheat code when we're talking about shopping for wine, is going to the smallest stores, not liquor stores, but wine focused boutique shops in your neighborhood. And second, you will know if you know the education. You talk to somebody and say, hi, I'm looking for a wine that goes with this, or I just bought Chad's book and she told me, this will be a good pairing. Do you have this varietal? They should be able to help you find it or be open to ordering it for you or telling you a second suggestion. Like, we don't have that, but we have this. So I think that's a good way to start if you want to start exploring.
Okay. Well, in that vein, I know we have a few minutes left.
I got 3 questions.
Okay, well, let's say I just want to stay within that vein. Let's say I'm by myself and I might be looking at a couple of wines and I'm really just not sure which one to choose. What's something that you normally would look for when you're maybe comparing like 2 or 3 wines and you're trying to decide which wine to get? What's something that you might look for?
For me, I think that if we're not thinking about pairing, we're just like, I just need a red for tonight.
You just want to choose a bottle of wine that you want to take home.
Between 2. Yeah, I think that most people go between price. If the price is negligible, like they're within the same amount. I personally know a little bit more, so I can actually look at not just the alcohol content, but also like the distributor. In the US, there's a name of the importer who brought this wine into the country in the back of most bottles. So even though it may say, McCoy wines in the front, in the back, it will say imported by Rhonda. And so I know that Rhonda makes a really great selection. So that helps me, even if I've never heard of, McCoy wines before. So that's personally for me, because I'm aware of that. For someone else, I think you should just go with the vibe. Like, I think of what's the moment that you're about to have the wine. If it's personally for you, if you tend to like heavier reds, whatever the style is very important. I think people don't usually know their personal, style. So when they come into my wine shop, they would often be lost. Like, oh, tell me what you like. I'm like, I picked every wine that's in here. It's 200 wines. I like all of them, So I'm the wrong one to ask, as the store owner. But, what are we doing? Is it spring? The mood, those are different things that I'm a seasonal drinker. So I really love certain styles of wines in different seasons. Even if it's not about pairing the food, I'm usually festive or going full body and getting a hearty red when it's winter, or cooler outside. And then when it's summertime, I may want a light, chillable red. So I feel like there's something to say about just drinking in seasonality as well. So I think leaning maybe more into that would be good.
Okay. Well, one of my questions was, what is the alcohol percentage is in wines? Is there a standard? Is there a range?
Yeah, for those different styles of wines, but let's just say classic still wines, which would be your average red, white, rosé, and even sparkling wine, is between normally around 11 to 15%. Anything higher than that usually takes it into like 16% alcohol is usually where we go into fortified wine. So that's where you get port wine, Madeira wine, sherries. So that's a different type of wine. So there's different classes, if you want to say, or we call them styles, different styles that you want to look forward to.
Okay. And I read several articles about wine. A certain amount of wine is good for your health. Now I'm
gonna stop you right here. I know nothing about health.
You don't know anything about that. Well,
I try to stay out of
people say
junk food wines.
There was some kind of relationship between wine consumption and not having heart problems, but it could also be you allowing time to relax, and the wine is part of that, which alleviates stress.
I like that idea. I mean, it does. Some of the articles, if anybody's on Substack, I'm gonna start releasing my articles soon. But I think that it is important to take the time for me in my like wellness practice and to have a glass of wine. Now that has nothing to do with like my health and my heart. I'm doing it, like you said, to actually take the time to chill, like to relax, to decompress for the day and have a glass. Going back to the scandal Olivia Pope moment we talked about earlier, when she comes home from work from a hard day. So I do think that I personally would use wine in that way, once I make it to Friday, to go ahead and open that bottle and have that moment. So I'm a fan of that idea. Of course, the heart health in red wine, particularly, is because of the skins of red grapes is usually included in the wine, and so there is this idea of it being healthier. So again, I don't like saying anything that I
I know. You don't want to blow back. She said the wine was good for my heart, and then you have to be careful about making declarative statements, as far as health is concerned. I think she froze.
Oh, she did.
Maybe she'll unfreeze. Because it was going great and perfectly. There you are. You froze for a few seconds.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, the Wi-Fi.
It's okay. It happens when it's live. Anything can happen. We've learned that. We've had this show almost 6 years.
You mentioned that you were on a Substack. I wanted to put the link to your Substack in the chat. Do you know? I was trying to see if it was on your website, but I didn't see it.
It's not, because I haven't released nothing yet. But if you put my name, it should show up. But it's called The Communion, like the name of everything. So The Communion.
If y'all are on Substack, just look for the communion.
The communion and my name, if because of maybe the communion somebody else has to, but yeah, Chad McCoy, the communion, I'm on there, and hopefully my articles will get up there as my next project for releasing that. This book is out. I feel like more. I've been on tour, I guess I would say, before we end up as well. My next, I'm going to my Midwest cities, so I'm hitting up Chicago, Detroit, and Milwaukee, and I leave April 9th. So that's all on my Instagram, which is cha_squared. So if you can share that link, that's where I put everything. So if you want to see me on tour, and then from there, I go to Philadelphia, DC, and Baltimore. So I'm on the road all April. Now that the snow has cleared in Detroit. In the Midwest area, and so I would love to, if anybody that's following would love to see you guys at any events. But on my Instagram is where all the links and for all the events that I'm doing.
I'm in DC, so I'm gonna have to swing on through.
Yes, we love that. We love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. This has been an amazing conversation. We've never talked about wine in a whole half hour. We've never had a guest that focused exclusively on wine out of over 850 guests.
And I guess I'm gonna tell you now, even though this topic is, or your channel is specifically for Black authors, I can tell you now there's very few wine books that are published annually, and I would say I'm probably now one of 5 Black authors to ever publish a wine book that is with one of the big, not self published. So
Right.
I can tell you that may have a lot to do with it. So thank you for recognizing me, and I'm thankful that we're connected through the NAACP. So I'm glad for their recognition as well, for the work that I've done, and can't wait to put out the second edition.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was interesting. I was gonna say we ran out of time, but the communion when she talked about communion, I was thinking about communion having the Lord's Supper at church, and for years, Black churches didn't use wine because they used grape juice because it was considered you're like endorsing alcohol, even though Jesus turned water to wine, but in later years, some of them did adopt using wine. So our next guest is a bookstore owner, and this is her first time on the show. So with Shaz, it was Shaz's first time on the show as well. And I think all the second half of the show are the guests are repeat guests that have been on before, but it's been a while. So her name is Tamara Brown. And is it Gaston Brown or Brown Gaston?
It's Gaston Brown. Hello.
Okay, Gaston
Good
Brown.
evening,
Welcome to the show.
And she is owner of the bookseller in Conyers, Georgia. The bookseller, not SELL, but cellar like a basement. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And we became aware of your store a while back. We just hadn't reached out yet. But how long has your store been open?
So the store's been open for 4 years, going on 4 years. So we'll be 4 years in May.
Okay. And Conyers, is it like an outer suburb of Atlanta?
Yes, Conyers is still within Metro Atlanta, about 20 miles out of the city.
Okay. All right. Now, what made you pick Conyers? Is that where you live?
It was at one time. I moved to another area nearby, but it was where I had run another business. The bookstore is my latest venture, but before that, I was still am in the insurance industry. So I was already in that area and just kind of stayed. It was a community that I was used to. And I grew up in Decatur. All of that is right there together. Decatur and Lithonia, Georgia.
Lithonia, where they have the Stone Mountain.
And Stone Mountain, yep. Absolutely.
I have a childhood friend that lives in Lithonia. So now there are other bookstores. Well, let me back up. Atlanta is starting to be like a hub for a lot of book events and bookstores. I know there was one bookstore that recently closed that had been
Yes,
around for a long
Medusa
time, like
clothes.
35 years. Madu,
Mm-hmm.
been around in a mall. It was a mall-based store.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
And
And
what
so yours is like in a strip center.
No, I'm a standalone building.
Oh, okay, a standalone building.
Yeah,
Okay, all
standalone
right.
building.
So are you in a neighborhood? Like,
I am. I'm in like the downtown Conyers area. So it's the old downtown area. They have two separate areas, but yeah, absolutely. It is in an old house. It was built up 200 years old. It was a beautiful location. By the
oh,
grace of God, I was able to get there, and getting there helped me foresee my dream of opening a bookstore. And the reason for naming is Cellar, which, I know it can be confused because I sell books and it's a bookseller, but it is unique because the bottom of the house that I've turned into a bookstore used to be a cellar. So it goes back to, around our time, our ancestors were there. So there was a bottom level. So just to pay homage to everything else and the history that's there, I named it after what I saw as a cellar for the third level.
oh, okay.
So I'm
So
on the site, and the bookstore is beautiful.
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. I saw a picture of it. Well,
Thank you.
I think I've been on your Facebook page and Instagram page. Uh, so how were you already in the book industry? What made you say, okay, the business I want to be in is a bookstore?
I was not, but I was always an avid reader. I will say that it is not my first business. So I wasn't new to running a business for a long time.
Okay.
I have a training school and an insurance agency that had been going on 20 years. It was during COVID that I had some time to sit down and really think about my passion, what God has for me, and what my next direction would be. And just through some issues that I was having at one of my locations with the landlord, it forced me to get out there and start looking for new spaces for everything else. And then I came upon a building that I saw, and I immediately, based on the look of it, thought, okay, my next venture will be a bookstore. So in spite of the research, because the research will show you that we see people steering away from physical books. There are so many other things that are popping up, digital, ebooks, etc., that the trend for the past 20 years has been that people will not be buying a physical book. So I decided I'm not going to let that trend stop me from where I see my vision to be going, and try to create a different space for community, a different space for writers, because I'm there to promote authors. I'm there to promote the writers. And without the stores being in place and without people who can keep the doors open, we won't have that product on our shelves, particularly Black authors. So we needed to get it out there. So it just became my passion. So of running the business, but reading was always in my blood.
So, as I'm looking at your site, one of the ways that you promote authors is through your book clubs that you have at the store. So, how does that work?
So the book clubs are we have different genres. So we pick my store first is very diverse. So because of that, we pick different genres, and then we host book clubs, and we try to bring in new authors, and we try to bring in some existing authors, some fun titles, but they all have to buy the book and they all read that book together. And most of them are introduced to new authors. So in addition to introducing them that way, I host a annual festival. And that's important to me because a lot of times inside of a bookstore, we are selling books that are published by the large publishers. It is an easier way for us to deal with ordering, the pricing, etc. But then you have everybody else who's in their writing phase, wherever they could be, independently published, self-published, etc., that do not always get the opportunities to be on the shelves of even independent bookstores like myself. So the book festival I put on every year just for them. And I try to set up some time as well in the bookstore just for them. So at the book festival, I only allow those who are self-published or independently published and give them a chance to market it. And so that is, I was the first to put on a festival in my city. You know, Decatur, if you've heard of it, Decatur, they have a huge festival.
Yes.
So ours is, we have different targets because they're going more towards the larger authors. But mine's is all independent authors, 250 of them come out, set up, and they can send their friends and family. So it is my way of giving back through either the book club, the book festival, or just setting up a space. God has blessed me with the space, and I'm trying to make sure I reach out to keep the authors in the business they're in, because without them, I wouldn't have a store.
Now, what's the name of your event?
That's really two ways that you support the author, through the book club and the festival.
That's right.
So what's the name of your festival?
The Conyers Book Festival. It's I put it on, but it's for the city. The community comes out. I've done it for 4 years. So it's coming up on the 11th and 12th. I would love for y'all to come if you're in town.
It's in April?
Yes, April 11th.
Is it outdoors or indoors?
It is it's at a park, so it is partially outdoors and indoors. So there's some of it that's indoors and some of it that's out.
Well,
is that okay, Gwen?
I'll definitely be sharing the information, because I know quite a few people in that area. In fact, I think I know a couple of authors who are going to be participating in that festival. So
thank you.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I support them. So yeah, I have to make sure I share that flyer with some folks.
Thank you. Please do. And if we get the word out for them, they keep writing and keep telling their story, then we can get kids into doing more. And I know y'all are doing the work. So thank you for everything that you are doing to help steer us into this direction.
Absolutely.
Now you open your store and you start your event. Sounds like it's around the same time.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Just so happened I actually you wait until spring anyway for a festival, usually outside, but I also wanted to be, courteous of other festivals that are held, especially by other Black big bookstore owners or other Black festivals that are in town, so that we can make sure we get the support if it's locally, so that they don't feel like we're competing with each other. So we go around each other with our festival schedule.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's a great way to work with each other, and you're working with each other, like you said, and not against each other. I love that.
Yeah. So you're not cannibalizing this.
Right. Collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Collaboration instead of cannibalization.
Yes.
How do you? Is your event is a mixture of different types of authors in terms of genre, ethnicity? What kind of mixture is it? How do you?
It is definitely different ethnicities, different genres. So the festival space is at a huge venue this year. So they're broken up by categories and then mixed in with some merchants, book merchants. And then there are some larger names, Victoria Christopher Murray, Danielle Allen, that will bring in to draw attention so that those, the other authors can get more traction. So we have some larger names as well, but they are divided by genres and typically have done well. And that's what I want to see. So I've been pushing this time of year to get them support. Because even if they can sell a few, sometimes just selling 5 books puts a smile on their face. Like that is 5 people that they didn't know who will read about them or hear their story. Mm-hmm. And not to keep talking, but it puts a lot of pressure on me, because that's the call I get all day. Can I put my book in the store? What do I need to do? And you want to support everybody, but these festivals give me the chance to put on the workshops, to say, here's a mess, get all the information you need from, different sources. So it's my way of giving back.
I love how you said, talking like this isn't your time to promote.
No, this is your time. This is your time.
Talk as much
as you want.
Okay.
That's the point.
I know.
That's the objective. Do you Is it open to the public? Is it free? Is there a fee to get in?
No fee is free.
Okay, it's free. And now it's funny when you talked about people calling, how do I get my book in your store? My husband and I had a brick and mortar for 10 years.
Okay.
So together. So and it's been a while. I mean, it was 2000 to 2010. But that was the question that we would get a lot
That
of.
you get all the time, right?
And I tell people, as a bookstore, you don't make any money unless a book is sold.
That's right.
Having the book on the shelf does you no good.
That's right.
In fact, it's taking space away from a book that could sell.
That is right.
Unless the author is doing something to promote.
Well, that's the point that I was going to make. I think, especially newer authors, they feel like they've made it because their book is on a bookstore shelf. But what they forget to do is to promote the book and tell people it's there. You just depend on the fact that people are going to walk in this store and just happen to see your book on the shelf. But you don't go out and tell people my bookstore is at the bookseller. If you want a copy of my book, go to the bookseller and get a copy of my book. So you don't promote it. So I'm hoping that there are some authors who are watching this show right now who are going to use this as a teachable moment, that it's more than a bookstore agreeing to put your book on their shelf. You still got to do your part and get out there and tell people that your book is on the shelf, because even if somebody does walk into the bookseller, there are 900 other books on those shelves too. How big a chance is it that they're going to happen to walk to your particular book and purchase your book? They might purchase the book next to your book and they might never ever see your book.
Yeah,
that's right. Dr. Lawson, that is absolutely right. Out of when I opened, I thought, let me help them. So I did consignment agreements, and we put about 80 self-published authors on a shelf, like a local author shelf. And by the end of the year, only 3 of them had sold any titles.
And I believe we tried the consignment thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's work. That's work, because you got to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put them in your system before you even sell anything. And that's money. Time is money. The effort. So
it is.
I think when people do a book, when people write a book and publish, especially they have the one book, this is their first book, and they're very excited about it, as they should be. But if you don't know the industry, you just are unaware of how all of this works. And you really are better off just selling the book yourself, going places and selling it yourself rather than trying to get it in bookstores. That's my opinion, because that's a lot of legwork, and a lot of bookstores aren't going to say yes just because it's no benefit to them if the book doesn't sell.
That's right. And it is becoming more challenging, and it's actually a lot of pressure on Black bookstore owners. Atlanta is becoming a hub, but we still don't have very many Black bookstores, not compared to the demographic. But of course, there are some areas who have little or none. But a bookstore is a hard business. But, a lot of people have a story they want to tell. I applaud them when they've gotten to the first step of getting it out there. But the next step is marketing and putting in the work at learning, like Dr. Lawson said, put in the work of learning how to market your book, because it won't market itself. Getting communication skills in place to see how to talk to people and how to meet people and what to do, because it won't sell itself. And everybody has a story. So that's something, we bookstores, we're trying to work together and see how to handle it. But another issue is most of the authors never came and supported the store. So if you've never walked in my store and bought anything, I probably will not be willing to use the shelf space to help support you as well, because we are trying to keep each other alive. So as a bookstore, it means a lot to just come in, patronize, support, and try to keep the business of selling books alive in that manner.
So can you talk a little bit more about that? So are you saying that an author will come in and you've never seen this author before, and they'll ask you to put their book on your bookshelf, and let's say you agree to do that, you'll put maybe 3 or 4 books on their shelf, and then you never see this author again. They've never purchased from you. They've never done a book signing there. They've never done anything with you. They've just left their book on your bookshelf.
Yes, that's most of them. Out of the 80, I knew 2. 2 were customers. And then it is also a lot of pressure because people will say, well, you're a Black bookstore. You know, I'm in a mixed area. So here I'm trying to help myself and promote myself. So the pressure is there they want the pressure to be on me to say I have a responsibility to help them. And then of course, you know, I want them to shop the store because that's how we keep the doors open. That's how people are paid to work there. But no, I haven't. For most of them, they rarely shop in a bookstore.
Yeah, we used to run into that with people with the situation you described, but also with nonprofit organizations in the city.
Oh, yeah.
Calling us for a donation or of some kind. And my first question to them is, have you ever been in our store to buy something?
Right.
And if you have not, then the answer is no. Because why do you think that we have this extra to provide you with if you don't even come in the store, let alone buy something? You don't even patronize the store. So a lot of people, unfortunately, in our community, they see bookstores in particular, but a lot of Black businesses in general, they see them as like almost like the government, like it's a government entity that gets money somehow where they can give away stuff for free, or they can, you know, do stuff, spend time, free time, or give free advice. You know, people will call and try to pick your brain over the phone, and the you know, the admonition is, well, you're a Black store, you should help Black people. Well, okay. This is a business. A business has to make money. It's not a nonprofit organization.
That's
you
right.
know. So I think some people, there's like a disconnect. They think they almost see you like a government agency where they can just call. And you can't even call government agencies now and get anybody on the phone, hardly. So, you know, so we have some work to do in terms of just people educating themselves on what a bookstore's business is, to sell books. That's right. What they're there for, to sell books. And so we have some work to do. We tried it for 10 years. It was me and my husband, both full time.
It is.
So this is the family business. We didn't have, you know, he wasn't working somewhere else. I wasn't working somewhere else. So, you know, it's challenging.
10 years is still a win. That's still a win.
Oh, we're still in business, and we still have the same business name. We just pivoted into other things, marketing. You know, we have our big book event, the National Black Book Festival, every year that we've had for 19 years. Yes. But we had to pivot in order to survive. You know, and that's what entrepreneurs do.
You evolved, right? You evolved.
Yeah, you have to. So now, are you still doing the insurance and the other business that you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not depending solely on the bookstore.
No, financially, no.
Financially, but you it's a very nice facility.
The bookstore I have put everything back, and that's a blessing to be at this stage. Not, I know everybody who opens a store doesn't have that ability to do so. But at this stage, I've been able to put everything back into staffing because
Okay.
I just could not burn myself out. And I needed to learn the business because it was brand new for me. So I spent a lot of time researching what titles do I put on the shelf? How do I keep the inventory? How do I grow a business and open a cafe? Because these were all things I had not done. And there are a lot of pieces, moving pieces. And I needed to get a new circle too. I needed new people around me because I was always a big reader. I've been to your festivals in the past. And I also was around people who were reading, but I was not around restaurant owners. I had not been around anybody who owned a wine shop or who ran a bookstore. So I needed to find those people just to get there. And so I needed some faces in a bookstore. So I have part-time help for social media, college students, the local schools help send work study kids out to work. And I started with just one person that I hired. And the bookstore is able to cover everything at this stage. But, the first year it was trying to figure it out with me and one person. And then I moved to two. So I just reinvested back into the store.
Well, that's great. Now, will you have any events coming up? You have your big event coming up?
We do. We have that. We do.
Since we have a few minutes left, I just wanted to reiterate
Yes.
about your festival. So the festival is going to be April 11th
and 12th.
Okay, excuse me, April 11th and 12th. And it's going to be from 10 to 5 on both days.
It is from 10 to 6 on Saturday, and then on Sunday it's from 12 to 6.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, and it's going to be at the Old Town Conyers?
It's going to be at the International Horse Park located in Conyers.
Okay, and the keynote speaker is going to be Beverly Jenkins?
Beverly Jenkins, Danielle Allen. We have Victoria Christopher Murphy. And a whole panel of everyone else who is just, I'm excited about them as well. But I'll pick those out as the 3 largest selling.
Yeah, you have, it looks like, I'm looking at your website. So you have a main stage, Black Love on the main stage.
Yes.
And then you're also going to have a fantasy panel.
Yes, fantasy is big in my store.
And I'm excited about your fantasy panel because there are not a whole lot of Black faces in that space right now. And you actually have 2 Black authors who are going to be on that panel.
Yes, and I pulled to get them too, because it's hard to get, especially Granger out to do a festival. But fantasy is, up and coming genre in the book world. I mean, it really is. And it is it's a big area for my store. But it's also a big area for young adults and the YA generation. Getting them excited about reading is where I need to start. You got the small children who love to read, then it falls away come middle school and high school. And they are into fantasy. They're into the reading. They into different reading, sci-fi, different topics and different genres versus the romance and some of the nonfiction that we've seen in the past. So I'm excited for the fantasy panel as well. I hope to expand it next year. I've had a fantasy panel since I've opened, and of course a romance, but I want to move into other genres as well.
Yeah, please keep that fantasy panel going because I would love to see more Black faces in that space.
Yes.
One of my good friends is a fantasy fiction author, and sometimes it's a struggle because many of her readers are not, even though her characters are African American, sometimes it's a struggle getting the readers,
right,
American readers, because the readership is not fully African American right now. So I mean, I've watched her at book signings where she will have non-Black readers coming to her table, purchasing the books. And so she would love to be able to see the readers match the characters in her book.
That's right. And, the good thing is that even the African-American fantasy authors, they're getting huge support from other communities because I think fantasy-wise, we make up about 5 to 10% of their sales. So 90% are outside of our community. We have growing number of authors and they get support across the board. So that is why it is important. It's important for us to have our festivals celebrating Black authors, but it's also important to have festivals that will allow everyone else to come, because a large part of their support comes from outside the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we really help each other. But we need our, thank you for putting on our own. The
Well,
lineup is great that you have coming up in October.
yeah, we're working on it as we speak, building it. Always trying to have some different elements, each year. And the things that work, you keep doing them. And the things that didn't work, you'll abandon them.
Yeah.
And you have to be flexible. So anyway, and Rhonda knows that flexibility is not my strong suit. That's not my strongest suit. I can get wired in and but I'm really good at planning ahead. So that allows me to have some flexibility, but it has to be like months in advance. Not spontaneous. I'm not spontaneous.
Today or weekend.
Anyway, Tamara, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And congratulations on your bookstore and
Thank you.
your upcoming event.
Yeah, if anybody listening, the book festival is great, but if you can't make that, our doors are always open to come and visit us at any time. And I hope to see you ladies one day when you're in town. Okay. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so our next guest, and it's funny how there are people in the book space and they're doing multiple things, and you don't really know that they're behind something that you see until you find out. So there is a page on Facebook called Black Fiction Addiction that has a lot of followers, thousands of followers. And so I reached out to the administrator, who I didn't know who it was, and sent an email about being on the show. I wanted to hear from them on how they built it and what their focus was. And then I come to find out that Chandra Splond is the brainchild behind Black Fiction Addiction. I had no idea. And she's been on the show before. It's been about, I want to say 3 years ago, maybe, when she was on the show, because I didn't look up the exact date. But I did know Chandra was the person, the curator, so to speak, for Black Fiction Addiction. And then I found out and I said, wow, well, it's like people don't know necessarily that I'm the coordinator of the festival, or vice versa, with all these different roles I play. I wear a lot of hats. So, but that's what it takes. So anyway, Chandra, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much for having me. It's great to see you all again.
Thank you again for being here.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, when did you start Black Fiction Addiction? Or when did you, I love the name, it's really catchy.
Yeah.
But when did you decide, I'm going to start this group or page or whatever you call it? What do you community? When did you decide you were going to do? What made you have an epiphany that you were going to do this?
Well, it's really interesting. When I actually had the idea 5 years before I started it, I very obviously love all things Black books. And I had been just looking for a space where, I could share book recommendations and talk about Black books and give indie authors some love. But I was so scared to step out on faith and do it. And then one day, matter of fact, December 21st, 2019, I woke up that morning. I said, you know what? I'm going to stop playing and I'm just going to put it out there. And I was like, hopefully I'll get about, if I could get 1,000 people, that'll be amazing. And here we are 7 years, almost 7 years later, and I have about 10,000 followers on Instagram now. So the lesson in that is to not let fear stop you. Just take one step at a time, and you never know what'll happen, how you can be a blessing and how you can be blessed.
right. That is so true. You know, this happened before the show, so I'm gonna say maybe a year before the show. I did a live Facebook on my 20 top books of all time.
Okay.
And after I did it, one of my good friends said, Gwen, you need to do something like that all the time. You need to do so Facebook Live or something about books. And I said, well, how can I, I'm a business person. So I'm like, how can I make it make money? That's, how can I make it work to make it worth my time? Because otherwise it's taken away from other things I'm doing. But
Right.
I didn't think anything more about it. And then COVID hit, and then we couldn't do the festival. We couldn't do the National Black Book Festival. We couldn't do anything. And then I said, you know what? This is the time when I can do something with books. So it's a lot of time, it's a seed that gets planted, or it's a thought, and it germinates, like seeds germinate, and then they break through the soil. And then voila, you have a major thing.
Yeah.
So now
And
when
that's
you
so true.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I was waiting for the perfect moment. Like I already had the logo made. I already had the beginnings of a website. So all the pieces were in place. I was just like, it just needs to be perfect. But no, I just needed to start it. So
Yeah, and who decides what perfect is anyway?
absolutely.
A
Well,
lot of times.
we obviously don't choose when perfect is, because it could be the perfect moment and we don't know when it's perfect. Because
Yes.
people keep saying, I'm waiting for the stars to align, well, for the planets to align, and everything has to be just right. And it'll all be just right. No, this still isn't the perfect time because I don't have the logo exactly just right. Or
Yes.
no, I can't do it yet because see, the algorithm isn't exactly right. We'll always find a reason for it to not be the perfect moment. So
Right.
we just need to do it sometimes. We got to do
Yes.
it scared, we got to do it ugly, we got to do it nervous, and then everything will align after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can talk yourself into things, and you can talk yourself out of
Yes.
things. you
You
know,
really
Well,
can. Yeah.
tell us how you actually went about getting it started. What did you actually do?
Well, I knew that I wanted to spotlight Black books and do like a book of the day kind of deal. Just highlighting whatever book, was on my radar at the moment. So that's what I did. I just started posting a book of the day spotlight. And then from there, it evolved to me doing blog interviews. So, once or twice a week, I'll interview a Black author about either their most recent release or just their catalog, and it kind of evolved from there, with indie authors reaching out, publishers reaching out, trying to get exposure, and it's grown from there, and it's been such a blessing for me, because clearly I'm addicted to Black books. Um, and just to be able to share them with other people is exciting. I think most of us who are readers, we wait for that moment where someone asks, "Oh, what book do you recommend I read?" And to have these recommendations at the ready is just always it's exciting but nerve-wracking too, because there's always, well, what if they don't like this book? But there's so many books that exist. I mean, of all the books I've shared over the years, I'm sure people have found at least one that they've liked. And that's the whole point.
well, today in today's environment, we are really fortunate in that we have a lot of choices.
Yes.
We have more choices in books being released, and from major publishers, independently, hybrid, whatever, more than ever in the history of America.
Yes.
It's more Black books being published in some way or form.
Right.
And self-publishing now is so easy that now it's easy, but it still needs to be done right.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
it's so easy now, whereas 20 years ago, it was not at all.
No, folks had attics or basements or garages full of books.
Right.
And you don't have to do that anymore, you
No.
know.
No.
Yes.
Mhm.
So how do you choose your books? Do you do a voting panel, or do people submit to you?
No, it's really just based on books that I've either personally read. A lot of times, like I said, publishers or authors will reach out to me, and if I think it'll be a good fit for, my audience, then I'll spotlight it. Um, a lot of times I'll see stuff that I'm interested in reading at some point, and I'll go ahead and share it with readers for them to go ahead and check out. So
Now, how did you come up with the name?
I wanted something catchy. And
Okay.
I'm like,
It's catchy.
yeah, I knew I wanted to focus on Black fiction. I'm like
Okay.
what would be something kind of cool to go with that? And then just playing around with ideas and addiction kind of came. I'm like, oh yeah, I really like that because I'm absolutely addicted to Black books. So it was just a perfect fit.
Okay. Now, how often do you post books now?
Typically, I post every day. The last 2 weeks, though, I've kind of taken a break. Life has been life, and so I kind of stepped back for a minute. But I'm gonna pick back up in the next week or so and get back on track. But yeah, it's every day for the book spotlights, and then once or twice a week, I'll do a book interview, well, an author interview, and they'll, talk about their latest release for the most part.
So, are your interviews live?
No, they're actually just blog posts.
Okay.
And,
Oh, okay. So
so
it's like a Q and
it's
A.
just a written. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, now, how do you build it? Like, how did you get to the 10,000? What did you do to raise your numbers?
consistently post. That's
Okay.
literally it.
Okay.
Consistently post. And then, I'll spotlight a book, and maybe the person whose book is being spotlighted will share their readers, and then people will come check out the page and be like, oh, like, she's consistently posting about Black books. Let me check it out. And then followers just kind of came from there. Uh,
So
So
really the
how,
key is making sure, well, I'm maybe not making sure, but the key is that people were sharing.
yes, absolutely.
yeah, and the consistency that you put out there
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
because
I also noticed because I've been a follower of your page for quite some time as well.
Thank you.
You have kind of a little grid going on with your page.
I
It's
do.
a very planned page. Things aren't just thrown on there all willy-nilly.
Yeah. So I wanted the page to be aesthetically pleasing. So I definitely did that, You'll see like a book, and then it'll be some kind of book related quote, or, maybe I have book spotlights, or I do a weekly new releases one roundup. So just making sure that they follow that pattern. I just like the way it looks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now did you ever
I love looking at pages that actually have a bit of a grid to them. I tried doing that with my page, but I was doing it for a while too. It was cute. It was like a little checkerboard going on, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm too busy."
Mhm. It can be overwhelming at times because, some days I'm like, oh, I just want to put this up. And I'm like, oh man, I can't because it
Yeah,
doesn't follow the pattern. So I got to figure out how to make it work. But
yeah, it was good when I had my social media assistant helping me, but
mhm.
since I don't have my social media assistant helping me with it anymore, I said I'm just gonna have to go for what I know until I can get my assistant back. So uh,
Yeah,
I'm putting it on there. And then when I can get back to having my assistant again, then I might go back to my little checkerboard. But right now, y'all just gonna have to get my greatness when I put it out there for y'all.
absolutely. At the end of the day, and plus, I mean, yeah, if they come to the page, they see it, but if it just shows up on their timeline or something, they have no idea. So, I mean, I think they just appreciate knowing that the content exists.
You're still giving them the greatness and a nice pattern. They'll get it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you're still writing books?
I am. It's been a couple of years since I published one. Um, but the ideas are still percolating. I have a few drafts that I need to go back and clean up. So prayerfully, a new one will be coming soon. So
Now, do you write romance exclusively, or
no, I do
what else
young
do you
adult
write?
fiction. That's my
Oh, young adult
primary
fiction.
focus.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't realize that. I don't know
Yeah.
why I thought you would. So, have you ever written romance?
I have not. I used to be a romance book editor though. So I used
Okay.
to be the editor
Somehow I got you.
for for Arabesque, BT Books Arabesque.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that now, so how did you get that position? Like, what led you down this book path?
So I always knew that I wanted to work. I wanted to do something with books. When I was a kid, I mentioned before I loved reading, and I just figured at some point I would write books. But when I got ready to go off to college, my mom asked me what I wanted to do with my life. And when I told her that I wanted to write books, she was like, authors don't make any money. You need to find a career to fall back on. So I ended up majoring in journalism. And I found that I didn't like it because the writing style was too structured for me. And then my senior year of college, I ended up taking a class in copy editing. And for those of you who may not be aware, copy editing is a story's grammar, spelling, and punctuation. And I found that not only did I like it, I was really good at it. And like growing up, like I would always correct people, and and I didn't know that that was actually a career. So when I found that out, I'm like, yes, this is it. And after that happened, after I took that class, I actually ended up getting offered a job in New York. So I moved to New York from Alabama. 2 weeks after I graduated, I was part of a minority editorial training program. So it was a 2-year program where you learned how to edit for newspapers. So I worked in newspapers for a few years. Once that happened, I'm like, I still want to do something with books. Like, how can I make that happen? I'm like, I need to learn to edit longer pieces of copy. So I decided I wanted to like explore working in magazines to get used to editing longer content. And I applied and got a job at Good Housekeeping magazine. So I worked there for about 4 years. And during that time is when like Black romance started becoming really popular. So I
Okay.
started doing freelance editing for Arabesque as well as for Indigo Books, which was based out of Mississippi back in the day. So I was
Okay.
doing free, and eventually I ended up getting offered a job to be the consulting editor for BET Books Arabesque. So that's how I made my foray
Oh,
into book publishing.
okay. Well, you had a circuitous route.
I
Uh,
did.
and but a lot of times that's how we end up places.
Yeah,
Um, it's
absolutely.
not a straight line.
I
It's
found
not. It's
this
not.
hard thing about being a copy editor because I'm a copy editor as well, and I've done journalistic copy editing
Mm-hmm.
and literary copy editing. And the
Mm-hmm.
problem with it is so hard to turn it off in your head. So
It absolutely is.
you're
Yes.
reading and you're just trying to read for fun, but your mind
Mm-hmm.
while you're reading.
Yes.
I don't want to copy edit right now. I just want to
Right, right. I just want to enjoy the book. Yes,
and you're like
absolutely.
sentence structure in your mind, and your mind will
Yes,
not let you get past the sentence until you fix it.
yes,
you
yes.
can't give that up because I did copy editing. I copy edited for urban books for 8 years.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I wasn't employed. It was freelancing, but
Hmm.
um, but I've always edited. Like I, I'm I'm an avid reader from childhood too, and when I
Hmm.
read, I edit. Even like at church, when they have the screen with the announcements, I can see a wrong word like immediately. It just jumps out.
Yes. Same.
Anything I'm looking at on TV, sometimes the Chiron, when they have a news flash, and they'll have misspelled words or wrong words in the Chiron scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And when I point it out to people, it surprises me that I'm the only one that sees it.
Right. And I do it with text messages too. Like I totally have to train myself to like not I still do it with my daughter. Like she'll send me a text and like if something is spelled wrong or used incorrectly, I'll have a little asterisk with what actually is supposed to be.
Some of
So,
them
but
I
I
can't
try
even
to turn it
read.
off with everybody else. But I
Yeah,
mean, it's just
it's hard.
part of who I am.
It's hard. It's hard for me to read some text. Not that people send me, but like texts that I'll read, like they'll have text on a news story or
Mm-hmm.
just on something where somebody is showing on social media a thread, and I'm like, what are they saying? And then the
Right.
emojis, I don't
Yes.
even understand. It took me a while to understand what the eggplant emoji meant. Um, to find that out. So sometimes you're scared to ask because you
Right.
don't want to necessarily know, and then you really don't want to seem disconnected.
Everybody, the comedian,
Right.
his grandmother asked him, "What does LOL mean?"
That's
And it means lean on the Lord.
a good substitute.
It is.
Sometimes some things you need to. Where it's yeah, even with hashtags, people
Mm-hmm.
when hashtags first became a thing,
Yes.
people would say, well, "What is a hashtag?" And you have to try to explain. It could be several things. It could be you emphasizing something. It can actually be a hashtag where people are following the hashtag, or
Right.
it could be any number of things. So that was something. We have to learn, and we have to kind of roll with this culture.
We do.
There's some things that I don't want to be involved in, and so I just leave it alone. But some of the flashpoints, I still need to stay up with what the trends are, the
Yes.
overall arching trends,
Right.
not necessarily every detail of the minutia. So
Absolutely.
we've all done copy editing. That's funny.
Yeah.
Because
Oh my goodness.
it is a side of the brain. It's not creative at all.
No.
It's the
No.
opposite of creative. It's more
Mhm.
regimented, but it's
Yes, it is.
necessary because if I read a book that hasn't been edited, I'm not going to get very far because I feel like the person is really insulting me by not investing in some ed. Every book needs to be edited.
Well,
Absolutely.
I just posted a Substack article a couple days ago, and the title of it is 10 most common mistakes I've found in manuscripts, because I've read and edited quite a few manuscripts over the past couple of years. And I decided to just kind of write down all of the common mistakes that I found, which ranged from spelling mistakes all the way to AI junk that's been left in manuscripts.
Oh wow.
Um, and
Yeah.
I've just made a list of all of those. And part of what I said was, before it ever even hits an editor's desk, you have got to make sure that you are at least reading through your manuscript and
Yes.
Yes.
before it gets sent to us. An editor should never see your first draft.
Right.
Yeah. This is true. And even though I edit other people's work, when I do a book, what I do is I read through it, then I send it to my editor. Then when and it's things that you miss, little things, because you're
Absolutely.
too close. It's too personal. You're too
Yeah,
close
and
to it.
your brain reads what
It's
it thinks
over it.
it's supposed to be there.
It's what
Yeah.
Yeah.
you think is what you know is supposed to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then when she sends it back and I make the corrections, I read it again all the way
Mm-hmm.
cover to cover
Yeah.
after the corrections are made, and then I still find something. Um,
Right.
some of it may be a correction that she gave me that I didn't make, but some of it is a correction that she didn't catch. Because
Mm-hmm.
not every editor catches every single mistake. It's not like 100%. It
I
might be
mean,
98%.
no, I mean, we're human.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, I
So
mean,
you need
mistake.
to read it multiple. You need your stuff to be read many, many times,
Yeah,
not just by you, by a third party that has no emotional attachment to it.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chandra, what do you have coming up for Black Fiction Addiction?
Well, we're gonna keep on sharing the book of the day spotlights. We have some exciting interviews coming up. I have stuff scheduled through the summer, so I'm excited to share some of the new releases that'll be coming out soon. And we're just gonna keep celebrating Black authors.
That's wonderful. Now, you mentioned new releases. Let's say an author has a book that's maybe 5 years, 7 years old, 8 years old. Do you feature some of those books, or does it have to be a book that's been recently released in, let's say, the last year, 2 years, 3 years?
No, I feature old books as well. So, authors can feel free to reach out to me if they have an older book, one of the backlist titles or whatever the case may be. I'm happy if I think it'll be a good fit for our audience, then I'm happy to promote it and share it. I don't do a whole lot of urban fiction. It's mainly mainstream. I do romance, science fiction, a lot of other genres.
Now,
Um,
I do have to ask you though, because some people have different definitions, personal definitions of what
mhm.
fiction is. Some people think urban fiction is just Black fiction. Some people think
No, absolutely not.
so.
No.
That's why I want to ask you, what is urban fiction to you?
For me, I consider urban fiction, I mean, hood books, you know, the drug dealers, gang bangers, all that kind of stuff, sex, drugs, that kind of stuff. So,
Oh, that's
but
what I
yeah.
think. But some people, I had to ask.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. There are a whole lot of people now who, when you say urban, they just instantly think it means any Black book, which is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
thank you for.
Oh, she froze. But that reminds me of, and I haven't been in Barnes and Nobles in a while, but the local Barnes and Nobles used to have one uh, area where all the Black books were, and I think they labeled it urban fiction. And it wasn't. Yeah, some of the books weren't even fiction; they were nonfiction. It was just Black. It was like, they had T.D. Jakes in there. They had, Walter Mosley. That's not urban, you
Or
know.
they would put all of the black books in one section, and then you would have inspirational fiction or inspirational books next to something like "This Bitch Got Roaches."
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
true. It's so insulting.
it
It's
is.
it's really it's so stereotyped. Um, as if it's by a Black person, it has to be the same. There's no differentiation. And there's so many different genres, and we're represented in all of them. Uh, because every year at the festival, we have no less than 20 genres represented. No less than 20. And most of the time people are just amazed that that many Black people are writing books. When they walk in the door, they
Mhm.
see it and they just, don't didn't know it. They just, it's like we're invisible to a certain extent,
Exactly.
so I think we lost Chandra,
Yeah,
but
she's gone now.
it was her time was almost up. And she if you get an opportunity to follow Black Fiction Addiction on Facebook or Instagram, do so, because Chandra is keeping everybody up to date and aware of new releases or just Black fiction in general. And she's able to do it almost daily, she said. So that's a lot of books she's covering.
I'm gonna have to send her all my books and like, hey, look.
Well, you know, that was my thought. That was my thought. So you know, we're like-minded. You know, our brains normally do kind of go in a similar direction. So, so she came back. Let me just say good night to her, and then we'll bring our last guest on. So, Chandra, we lost you. You froze, and then we lost you.
All you had to do was say so.
I'm so sorry. I have no clue what happened. I switched over to my phone to see if that would give me a better reception. So
okay, and we were just talking about how books can be featured on Black Fiction Addiction, and I was just going to ask if there was a cost attached to it or what people need to do to submit. Should they email you? Should they DM you? What is the process for getting featured?
Well, thank you for asking. First, there is absolutely no cost to be featured either on the social media platform or on my blog. If people are interested, they can reach out to me. They can DM me on any of the social media platforms, and they can also email blackfictionaddiction@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we were at the end of our time anyway, but I'm glad you were able to come back and let people know that. So if you want your book to be featured on Black Fiction Addiction, DM or email Chandra and she will respond. She does respond to her emails. Yeah. So so have a great night, Chandra. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank y'all so much. Have a good evening.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, we're bringing on our last guest, and she was on the show a couple of years ago, and we've been communicating about some of the authors that she represents. And Lasheera Lee is back on Black Authors Matter TV, and welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I hope everyone is doing well this evening.
We're wonderful. I mean, we're happy to have you back here. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Now, you've been busy over the last couple of years.
Just a little.
It seems like every other day, every other week at least, you're signing somebody new, a new author to a book deal. And so what we wanted to know is to get an update on where you are, where your agency is in terms of just what you've been doing and focusing on. And then we want to go back to how you got started.
Oh, wow. What am I focusing on? A couple things I can't announce because all parties haven't signed contracts. Mm-hmm. But I'm very interested in the micro dramas, the vertical dramas. Can you hear me?
So just between us, we won't tell nobody.
Yeah. Very interested in that. I do have a very big deal that I think will be announced this week. Getting more African Americans or just authors in general in front of in bookstores and bookshelves and trade deals. As you know, there's generally a study done every year that lays out how many marginalized and melanated authors have been published, how many people are in the industry, how many agents, editors, Well, that has that particular survey is no longer in effect. It's being replaced with something else. A lot of people aren't aware of that because they just don't know really a lot about the industry. So that is no longer in place. So we won't have a gauge, so to speak, to determine where we are when it comes to marginalized authors, which is very disheartening. So I always say, I see a lot of things on social media. I don't comment. Neither there or the, but I just keep scrolling. But a lot of times, people make statements about various stores, various campaigns, and often we can be our own worst enemies. Mm-hmm. Because without the DEI mandates, which don't also impact African Americans, but impact a lot of different demographics. Without those mandates and people saying different things and making various comments, but not having a seat at the table, can actually hurt us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I'm just advocating. I'm just really just advocating as a whole for literature as a whole and for authors.
I'm very glad that you said that. I've been following Threads a lot. And on Threads, there have been a lot of discussions that I really believe, if we're not careful, can really hurt the Black literary industry.
Yeah, and not just that. Of course, this is Black to be matters, but other demographics. But people aren't aware and then people don't research.
Right.
No.
They go by what Pookie Man and Peaches say.
Mm-hmm. And half the stuff is with AI, especially. Half of the stuff online is false or fake, or
it's a different narrative.
Real. It's so I've started a new rule for myself. And that is, I really don't want to deal with anybody new in business, because there's so many people cutting corners and being fake with fake stuff. Is not real. They're looking for a quick buck.
And I will even test that, even for me, a lot of times, like, especially when I go to not book signings, but industry events where I may be on the faculty and you're looking at the first 30 lines, first 3 pages, or if someone query me, I think I did cut off my query manager. I hope I did. Just talking to you reminds me of that. And you say, oh, this sounds good, but I am now requesting the whole manuscript, which is now taking me a lot longer because you don't know what's in the middle, what's at the end. So even I, as an agent, I am really looking for those nuances that may be a telltale sign of, okay, is this AI, which is taking up a lot more of my time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
One of the things that one Substack I plan on writing very soon is how AI made me a better writer. And what I mean by that is that what I found that AI does is that it mimics a lot of things that we used to a lot of literary devices that we used to think were good writing, like for instance M dashes and short sentences. AI mimics it and overuses it, and so now I'm more aware of it in my
Yeah. So I am a dasher.
When I write myself, I used to love using M dashes, but now I don't want to be.
I don't overuse them, but I use them.
But no,
I'm with Dr.
I don't
Lawson.
overuse them either. But the fact that AI, when I use an M dash, I don't want anybody to think that what I wrote is AI. So I'm a lot more conscious of it. So what I do is I pay a lot more attention to my writing. And because I pay more attention to my writing, I believe that it's actually made me a better writer.
And I really hate it also because AI does use a lot of imagery. And I know a lot of writers, especially like my OG writers, they use a lot of imagery. And they use and they use it very well, a lot of alliteration and things of that nature. A lot of the old school English, as I would say, the devices. And I hate that people feel like you can't do that because people automatically assume that it's AI, which also tells a telltale sign to me as a reader, someone who just like I hate to say this, a Johnny come lately, or someone who's been reading for years. And I think also you can tell where readers are in their reading catalog if they feel like, oh, someone used Johnny Jump something, but they probably maybe alliteration. But they feel if someone does that, then that's AI, or they use a lot of vivid imagery, a lot of word usage, that's AI, because they aren't maybe not used to people who are really delving into in the imagery and the usage of all the literary devices. So I feel sorry for a lot of authors because a lot of people are critiquing. I told one particular person last week, just write the book.
Yeah.
Just write the book.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I was in another discussion in another book group. I like book groups where people are actually having literary discussions and they're not using them as dumping grounds for promos. So I'm in a book group where they're actually discussing, and one author said that they had heard of an author who had written books years ago, like 13 years before AI became a thing, and they actually ran their books through an AI detector, and it said 80% AI because they were using
a lot of imagery. Technique.
That AI overuses now. They were using these techniques way before AI became a thing, and AI was picking it up as AI detector. So I say all of that to say that these are real techniques, and it's not saying that you shouldn't use it. And even now, I still use a lot of these literary devices. I just don't. I'm just very careful about overusing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all of this
to
say
balance.
Yes, it's balance. If you like using M dashes, continue to use your M dashes. If you like using the 1, 2, 3 rule, this, and this, people like to, and they like to use series. I call it series. AI uses series a lot. You can still use them. You just may not want to overuse it. And I'd say that even if AI wasn't a thing, if you're overusing a series in your writing, it's going to weigh it down and it's going to make it very repetitive. And then people are going to get tired of reading it. So that's the reason why I said that AI has kind of opened our eyes to things that may have been repetitive in our reading, in our writing.
And we're not even aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're more aware of it because of AI.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said in certain ways, AI can make you a better writer.
It can, but it's ripe for scams. People are really
that's a totally different point.
People are using it. I mean, it's like I say, if I don't already know you, and I know a lot over the years, I know a lot of people, or you have to be referred by somebody I know and trust. Otherwise, I don't even want to talk to you because first of all, I don't know if you're human. Now, you don't know if it's a human.
Or it's a bot.
It's a bot.
Or agent. Or
they're writing. They're writing. I got an email from somebody who said that they were with the Breakfast Club. He was the general, like the manager for the Breakfast Club. And he saw the book festivals page, and we had a big following, and the Breakfast Club was doing something special where they were highlighting different people doing different things, and they were going to go live on Facebook. So, I did some research. The name they dropped was the right name. And it was, they had some steps. First, they had you respond. Then they set the date. They told you the dates, and I'm checking. Oh, and they were going to pay too. It was a paid thing. So the step that was I was skeptical the whole time, but the step that was the red flag was they did a Zoom test, and the person on the other end was an Indian from India. And I said, okay, why would the Breakfast Club have an Indian? And then they wanted and I don't do this with anybody. And if you all do it, I don't recommend you ever do it. They wanted to show me how to do it by having access to my computer. That was when I said,
yeah. Oh no,
I'm out of here. I hung
out
up.
of here. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But it's all now who and the letter they sent was very well written. The whole thing was AI.
Because it probably was AI.
Yes, the whole thing. So, like I said, I don't know you.
Call the radio station back.
I did try to send them the information. I don't know if they ever got it. That somebody was running scams. Somebody was running a scam using their name. So now you don't know who's using your name. Somebody might be, I guess we have to check to make sure our names aren't being used for scams.
My name is being used for a scam. If anybody calls you from Homeland Security and tells you that their name is Officer Rhonda Lawson and that you have a package at the border, hang up on them. That ain't me. Especially if it's an Indian man, it's not me. Hang up.
It's the Indian. I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but a lot of them are in the tech world, in the engineering thing.
Well, I'm just telling you, ain't no Indian man named Officer Rhonda Lawson calling you from Homeland Security. I'm just telling you.
Okay,
if they tell you,
I didn't think
it's not.
I didn't think there was an Indian connected with the Breakfast Club that would be running over the show. That just didn't make sense. But it was elaborate what they did. It wasn't just one step. It was like 3 or 4 steps. It's a brave new world we're in right now, and people need to be very judicious.
I will tell you that there is a scheme going around, and it's not just Homeland Security. They are doing it with a number of different government organizations, and they're probably doing it with the Breakfast Club too. That they go to the website and they choose names because the names are on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said they may have told you the correct name because they went to the website and they found that person's name.
Right, they did,
and they may have read off a phone number, and the phone number might have been correct, and they know how to clone phone numbers.
And their email was the Breakfast Club something at Gmail.
Yeah, they can do all of that. But the thing is, and I'm telling you guys this for real. I'm not even being funny, and I'm telling you this because I do work for Homeland Security, and I have had people use my name to try to scam people. And when the person hung up, when the person that they were calling hung up and called the number back, they reached me, and they'll call me, and they'll say, "Well, you don't sound like an Indian man. Somebody called me. Is this for real?" And when they find out that I'm the real person, they get upset and they're like, "I just gave all my information to this scammer." And
wow,
oh my God,
that's scary.
Yeah,
that's
don't
scary.
give any information on the phone.
Yeah, the phone. Yeah, and most institutions or agencies will tell you they are not going to secure information via text or even email and things like that. And then another red flag is that Gmail, if it's a Gmail or Yahoo or something else, if it's not a .com, that's also another red flag. But a lot of people get so excited, especially if they feel like they have an opportunity to do something different, and especially something of that nature. They just automatically assume, because like you said, they did the research, they see that that person is on their website or on their directory, and then next thing you know, the whole counts have been wiped out, which is very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm, it is. Now, getting back to what you do every day as an agent. Now, do you have a legal background?
No, I don't have a legal background. All my background is in studying and interning. I did quite a bit of interning for various people. I'm not going to say right now, but I did quite a lot of interning at an older age. It kind of reminds me of that the movie where not Martin Scorsese, not Al Pacino, but the other one who interning, because I felt like I was the oldest intern, but I did that just so I could know the background and the ins and outs of the industry. Mm-hmm. And dealing like with contracts, because that's very important too.
That's what when you mentioned contracts,
dealing like with contracts has been very important. We also have a lawyer who helps and assists us. So sometimes we have boilerplate contracts for certain entities where everybody's may not look like ours, because our lawyer has went through it and kind of fine-tuned it, if you will. Mm-hmm. So that helps. And also reading, you can't just read just like literary books, but you have to read trade books. You have to go to webinars. I am a member of American Association of Literary Agents, and so they constantly have webinars and workshops to assist us. So I always tell people, whatever you do, you need to be efficient in your craft and always be a student.
Okay, well, that's good advice. You should always be learning.
Oh yeah, because oh my gosh, even like I haven't been doing this a long time. It seems like I have, but I think I'm entering my third and maybe almost fourth year. But things have changed tremendously since I've entered into this realm. So, and as technology has changed, you have to be very aware of that, and you have to look at AI. AI is a very hot topic, especially like when you enter into sub rights, which are your translation rights and audio rights. But I don't even consider audio as sub rights, because audio deal is just a publishing deal, just in various format. But you have to be wary of that. Because AI, and not to make sure AI is not going to be a part of that if the author doesn't want that as their brand. So that's something that you have to deal with as well, because technology is constantly changing.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how do you decide who you're going to represent?
This meeting conference is kind of like it's a marriage. You see if you're gonna be a good partner, because it's a partnership. So sometimes you can tell, sometimes you may you may strike out. But it just varies on what I'm looking for particular, and if that work speaks to me at that particular moment, and I feel like we could be a great partner together.
Okay. So do you
somebody marketable? I mean, of course, everybody's looking for somebody marketable, but are you we
You talking about like a debut author? Would I take a debut author?
Okay, well, not just a debut author, but somebody who has a little get up and go, because we normally tell authors that agents and publishers aren't looking for somebody who thinks that they're just going to sell their book and then sit back and wait for the royalties.
I have that conversation quite a bit. And the world has changed, especially like when people say, for instance, even like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the market has changed, where you see a lot of authors who normally didn't have a lot of visibility on social media now are finding themselves that they have to do some type of marketing or promoting on social media. I remember a long time ago, I'm not going to mention this author's name, but she's extremely successful. And she transitioned to some other things, and she told me years ago, Lasheera, no one's going to do more for you than you're going to do for yourself. And I even take that to heart, even as a agent. No one's going to do more for me than I'm going to do for myself. Nobody's going to do more for me, my clients, I do for myself. So a lot of times I do stuff that other, like I may reach out to somebody, see can a client gets in a certain festival or certain store or certain things like that, because especially in this day and time, and when you're dealing with a certain clientele of clients as well, then you have to I think you have to put forth that extra effort to make sure that they're going to be in the right place to get the visibility and be successful.
Okay. Are you looking for new clients? Or are you always looking?
No, I'm always looking. Okay. Actually, I had closed my query. I am opening it up. I'm not opening up my query manager, because at one point I was getting like 100 queries per month, and it's just me. I can't. So that is closed, but I am open to looking at certain proposals or certain query letters.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, though, I often get the question. I'm an author who prefers to stay independent, only because of my schedule. But I often get the question of should I be, not I personally, but should I be independent or should I be traditional? And there are
hybrid. A lot of people are more of a hybrid authors these days, and it just depends on, because traditional may not work for everyone.
There's still some who are still looking for traditional because they think that carries a certain amount of prestige. As an agent, what type of advice do you give to an author when they're trying to make that decision?
Well, that's something you have to look within yourself, because when you trad, there are certain deadlines. But honestly, some of these girls, they have deadlines. Even they're indie, they have certain deadlines and markers that they have to meet. And it also means, like, traditional just doesn't mean just traditional book deals, but audio deals or translation deals or vertical film deals or film deals. So what do you want? What do you want your career to look like? Do you feel that traditional publishing is ideal or hybrid? Most people aren't just traditional these days. Most people are hybrid. So they have the best of both worlds. So so most people are, I ain't gonna say most, but I'm gonna say probably like 50% of authors are leaning to more of the hybrid experience.
Okay. So you're only the agent for the traditional publishing. That's how you get paid as an agent. Is that correct or no?
No, that's not. That's
No?
correct. No, so I
So
have
how do
people.
you represent
I have
somebody?
people who are hybrid. I do a lot of audio deals. I have translation deals. I have a few
Okay.
vertical film deals. So yeah, that's a
Okay.
myriad
So the
different
person
ways. Yeah.
could be self-published for their regular book and then get an audiobook deal. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, they they have an indie. They have an Indian print, but there's an audio deal for that print. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's new information.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's quite no, a lot of people look for that because audio is just as important to me. I don't see it as a sub right. I've said it for a couple years because the audio market is about $33 billion and growing.
Okay. Wow. I knew it was growing. I didn't know the number. So are you like, are there certain genres that you favor? I noticed you have quite
Oh,
a
I'm
few.
a romance girl.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
most definitely a romance girl. I'm
Okay.
most definitely a romance girl. I love romance. Let's see. Last year I probably sold. It was like 50. I probably sold like just in trade books, not in audio books. I went in baby count them many. But anyway, I think I sold like two thrillers and 6 romances, and this year I've sold 2 romances. Well, and then I have 3 deals I haven't can't talk about. One I may talk about this week. And the other is a thriller, and the other 2. So it'll be 4 romance and one thriller. And just
Ooh.
book deals, but in audio books, I've sold everything. I don't even know that number.
Okay. So if a person, because a lot of people say, how do I get an agent? Or if I'm looking for an agent, or not necessarily Lasheera, because you said you're not opening up your query, or you might
I'm
be.
not opening my query manager, but I'm open to querying. But I'm not opening my query manager. Everybody just dump those. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to read 100 manuscripts per month.
Okay. Okay. So if a person was looking for an agent, what's some advice that you can give them?
Well, make sure you know the terminology. A lot of people don't know the terminology about querying and proposals. Make sure you know what a synopsis look like, what it and it looks different for everyone, but you need to know like the basics of it. You also need to understand if that particular agent is looking for what you have. Say for instance, if someone was shopping a horror, I am not that girl.
Okay.
I am not a horror girl. If you're shopping, I'll do romancy, but I'm not looking for a fantasy. I am not that girl.
I'm gonna ask you about fantasy.
So you need to make sure that person. I'm not looking for memoirs. I like read long nonfiction, but I'm not that girl that was willing to shop it. I don't read. I read probably like a few celebrity memoirs, but like your personal memoir, because everyone has a compelling story. That's what I hear. But I am not that person if you want to shop that. So you need to make sure that that agent is the right fit for what you have.
Okay. All right. And lastly, how do people get in touch with you in case they do
Oh,
want
girl,
to?
they find me, honey. Lord,
So just look for Lasheera Lee and you'll find it.
yeah. I was like, who's this? Yeah. Inbox, email, yeah. Another thing, like if we're not friends, so I have found things in my, you know how especially Meta will hide that those messages. I have found stuff like from 6 months ago because I'm not that person's friend, and so it's kind of like, hey,
it
girl,
ends up in an off ramp.
yeah.
And I've done the same thing. Oh, I didn't know this was here.
And you know, sometimes you'll see a few, and then it's like you may, and then the whole like slew will pop up next week. You like, oh my goodness, yeah.
So, but anyway, if you want to reach out to Lasheera Lee, she's a literary agent, and she.
Oh, we're finished already. Oh my
goodness, it's done. It's the end of the show. So. The time goes by really fast. So anyway, Lasheera, thanks for being on the show.
Oh,
I'll be in touch with you. We've been communicating about some things, so I'll continue to be in touch.
All right. Well, thank you. You all have a wonderful evening.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So that's it for this week, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.